Chapter 21. The burden of the wilderness of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south, sweeping on. It cometh from the wilderness, from a dreadful land. A grievous vision is declared unto me. The treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, and the spoiler spoileth. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media. All the sign thereof have I made to cease. Therefore are my loins filled with convulsion. Pangs have taken hold upon me, as the pangs of a woman in travail. I am bent so that I cannot hear. I am affrighted so that I cannot see. My heart is bewildered. Terror hath overwhelmed me. The twilight that I longed for hath been turned for me into trembling. They prepare the table, they light the lamps, they eat, they drink. Rise up, you princes, and anoint the shield. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, Go set a watchman, let him declare what he sees. And when he sees a troop, horsemen by pairs, a troop of asses, a troop of camels, he shall hearken diligently with much heed. And he cried as a lion upon the watchtower, O Lord, I stand continually in the daytime, and I am set in my ward all the nights. And behold, there came a troop of men, horsemen by pairs, and he spoke and said, Fallen, fallen is Babylon, and all the graven images of her gods are broken unto the ground. O you my threshing, and the winnowing of my floor, that which I have heard from the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, have I declared unto you. The burden of Demal, one calleth unto me out of Seir, Watchman, what of the night? Watchman, what of the night? The watchman said, The morning comes, and also the night. If you will inquire, inquire you, return, come. The burden upon Arabia. In the thickets in Arabia shall you lodge, O you caravans of Dedanites. Unto him that is thirsty bring you water. The inhabitants of the land of Tamal did meet the fugitive with his bread. For they fled away from the swords, from the drawn sword, and from the bent bow, and from the grievousness of war. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, Within a year, according to the years of a hireling, and the glory of Kedar shall fail, and the residue of the number of the archers, the mighty men of the children of Kedar, shall be diminished. For the Lord, the God of Israel, has spoken it. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. We remember yesterday we was talking about Tartan. Tartan was this commander that had been sent by the king of Assyria. Now, he had went to Ashdod, and he had overthrown Ashdod. And this period of time was just kind of put in there. And we're going to see, as we go through Ishaiah, that these books are just kind of put together and jumbled. These writings are just put together. But we have been going through a series of these writings. I call the burdens of these things, which Ishaiah seen, or seen this, that was purposed against these things. And we'll start with verse 1. The burden of the wilderness of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south, sweeping on, it cometh from the wilderness, from a dreadful land. And this burden, once again, is something that has to be carried, something that we can tell by. And it's the burden of the wilderness here. And the wilderness is this desert place, or this dry place, even this place where the words drive out. And this sea is more like the roaring sound that the sea would make. That is really kind of the intent of this word. It is not the sea itself, but the sound of the sea, the roaring. And this is the place where the words drive out, and the roaring of it. As whirlwinds in the south, sweeping on, it cometh from the wilderness, and from a dreadful land. And this whirlwinds, or these winds of twisting winds, and they come up out of the south, even this in the south, in this dry place, even this, and also there when we look toward the south, we can see the work of God sweeping on, and this is like the twisting winds in a dry place, sweeping on and picking up the dust. It comes from the wilderness and from a dreadful land, and it's coming from this place where the words drive out, and this dreadful land, because it's dry, it's parched. 2. A grievous vision is declared unto me. The treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, and the spoiler spoileth. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Medea, all the sign thereof have I made to cease. This grievous vision is a horrible and a cruel vision, this cruel thing that has been seen, even like it was hidden and it's been seen, and it's been declared or been made known even unto me. This treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, and that's what we find going on. God has set judgment now even in the earth, and it's dealing very treacherously, and the spoiler spoileth. Because we're going to find out these two are separate. They're two separate things, but they come now from one head. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Medea, and Elam is eternity. It's for eternity. This is a judgment that God has set in the earth now, and it's for eternity. Besiege, O Medea. And this Medea is this land in the middle, even this land that God has caused to separate even this understanding. Besiege, because that's what it's done. It has taken hold of and surrounded, besieged, even like a city. 3. Therefore are my loins filled with convulsion. Pangs have taken hold upon me, as the pangs of a woman in travail. I am bent so that I cannot hear. I am affrighted so that I cannot see. And these pains and these convulsions, like a woman in travail, like a woman giving birth. And these pains are coming now, even in terror, because one thinks they're going to die. And I am bent so that I cannot hear. This word bent, it's more like twisted. I've been twisted so that I cannot hear and I cannot understand. We're going to find out. See, God has done this. God does this. God stop up the ear. I am affrighted so that I cannot see. And in so much terror that my vision has been taken away. I have no understanding. 4. My heart is bewildered. Terror hath overwhelmed me. The twilight that I longed for hath turned from me into trembling. And these are what those inside the city are screaming and crying, because their heart is bewildered, and terror has overwhelmed me. Why? This grievous vision that God has sent into the earth for what the people have done. They have sinned and turned from the law of God, and God is punishing them even in this captivity that they don't understand. But we're going to see how we can understand. The twilight that I longed for is turned from me into trembling. These things this morning that I hoped for only reveals the enemy. 5. They prepare the table, they light the lamps, they eat, they drink. Rise up, you princes, and anoint the shield. And this is what we see. Oh, they prepare the table and they light the lamps, they eat and they drink. But none rises up to anoint the shield. None will rise up for battle. None will come out to fight. 6. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, Go set a watchman, let him declare what he sees. Take and set you up a watchman, and let's see what the watchman can see. 7. And when he sees a troop, horsemen by pairs, a troop of asses, a troop of camels, he shall hearken diligently and with much heed. And we set the watchman up now, and when he does see these troops, these horsemen, these men of strength, by pairs even, a troop of asses, and these asses stand for these heads, even these governments, these ones who have set themselves up in rule. A troop of camels, these troop of camels, even this fat seed, these ones who sit up on this fat seed even. We've heard of the fat seed, but these that ride upon the camels are looked as the ones who ride up on high on the fat seed. He shall hearken diligently with much heed. So when you see these ones, even these great spiritual leaders and these government leaders, you should hearken diligently with much heed. Why? Well, we know they have strayed from the law of God. They've turned from the law of God, and God has brought them into the captivity. 8. And he cried as a lion upon the watchtower, O Lord, I stand continually in the daytime, and I am set in the ward all the nights. And this is what the watchman cried, as a lion, just like the roaring sea of the wilderness, he does cry. This roaring sound the watchman has seen, and he declares, I stand continually all the day and all the night in my place watching. 9. And behold, there came a troop of men, horsemen by pairs, and he spoke and said, Fallen is fallen in Babylon, and all the graven images of her gods are broken unto the ground. And the watchman declared what he seen, and what did he see? These horsemen by pairs, even these men of strength. And he spoke and said, Fallen, fallen is Babylon, all the graven images and her gods are broken unto the ground. Babylon has fallen, see. The truth has been revealed. They've been seen. These are the armies of God, and they've come in judgment. 10. O you my threshing, and the winnowing of my floor, that which I have heard from the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, have I declared unto you. And this threshing, O you my threshing, this that I've threshed out, and the winnowing of my floor, this winnowing here is the son. It's more like the word is ben. It says son of my floor. And this is more like the fruit, that which comes from what I have threshed out, that which I have heard of the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, have I declared unto you. And Ishaiah is telling us these things which he has seen, and these things which he has declared, heard of God, has he declared unto us. And what he has declared unto us is very simple. You have been taken over, and God has sent you into captivity, and it's for an everlasting thing now. And God caused you to go into captivity because you desired a king, and now here you are in captivity. Government's over you. All these spiritual leaders have led you into blindness and darkness, and you consider not these things. And now the watchman declareth these things. 11. The burden of Dumah. One calleth to me out of Seir. Watchman, what of the night? Watchman, what of the night? This is the burden of Dumah. This is the marker of Dumah, the silence. Now, even out of the silence one called unto me out of Seir. Seir is this place. Seir means hairy, or to look hairy from a distance. The closer we get to it, the more we see that it's just a mountain of briars. And this one that calls out of this mountain of briars, Watchman, watchman, what of the night? Is it more to see if the watchman's there? Is there a watchman there? 12. The watchman said, the morning comes, and also the night. If you will inquire you, return and come. And the watchman does declare, the morning comes, and also the night. If you wish to inquire, inquire. Inquire of God these things. Return unto the Lord your God. Come. This is what you should do. If a man wished to know, if a person wished to know these things, should he not inquire of his God? 13. The burden upon Arabia. In the thickets in Arabia shall you lodge, O you caravans of Dedanites. Here we are again at the burden of Dumah. This is the third burden. This burden is against these steppe dwellers, those that dwell upon the steppe, even the steps of this Tower of Babel. There shall you lodge, you caravans of Dedanites. These caravans are these groups that come up out of these low places, There shall you dwell on these steps. And these steps we're talking about are these altars, these things that are making you known. 14, unto him that is thirsty, bring you water. The inhabitants of the land of Tamal did meet the fugitive with his bread. In this land of Tamal, we're going to find out, is this desert place, this dry place, this place where they're thirsty, they're dying of thirst. And these that are there did meet with bread and water. 15, for they fled from the swords, from the drawn sword, and from the bent bow, and from the grievousness of war. And this is why they're there in that desert and dry place, for they fled away from the word of God. They fled away from this drawn sword, even this sword of judgment, and from this bent bow, even this truth that goes forth, and the grievousness of war. For this is what they do. They make war against God. You can't win. God has now brought you into captivity, this great captivity that is for eternity even. How shall it be broken? That you turn unto the Lord your God and follow the law. Follow the law and see if the Lord wouldn't go before you. 16, for thus hath the Lord said unto me, within a year, according to the years of a hireling, and all the glory of Kedar shall fail. And this year, within this understanding, within the greater understanding, according to the great understanding of a hireling even. This hireling is an apprentice, someone who is still at work, still working for understanding. And this glory of Kedar shall fail. Kedar's dark, means dark. Darkness. And their glory, this glory of darkness, we know this glory of darkness is this rule they've set up. The people don't have no understanding. They go in error. Even this is the understanding of a hireling, of an apprentice, someone who's just beginning even. Someone who can see all these things. 17, and the residue of the number of the archers, the mighty men of the children of Kedar, shall be diminished, for the Lord, the God of Israel, has spoken it. And these mighty men of this residue of the number of archers, that what's left of the archers, these that bend the bow, these that bend the bow to make war against God even, these mighty men of the children of darkness, shall be diminished. God's going to do it. See, God is going to go before. God has told you, be obedient to the law. Obey the law, and God will go forth in blessing. God will remove these things, but until this lesson is learned, it is set for eternity. This is a judgment and a grievous vision of Isaiah. We will move to chapter 22.